Hey guys, byscreenside here today, bringing you a new speed build video. And as you can tell from my super cool voice, I have been sick. So you may have noticed there haven't been any videos up for a while. And yeah, it's because I have been really sick and I very much apologize. Like if you watched my last build video, you heard me say I hope I don't get sick for Christmas. Oh no, that would be really crappy. And then, of course, I inevitably got like really sick. I got a flu and it sucks. I was really sick on Christmas Day and, the couple days leading up to it and everything. And I did wind up traveling to like see my parents because it was Christmas and it's just like, you gotta go. You gotta go see your fam on Christmas. But like it was so bad. My mom was like, you've gotta go. Like you've got you need to leave. You sound terrible. You need to go home and get some rest. So yeah, that's kind of how I've been and where I've been this whole time. So yeah, sorry talking. I'm totally killing it right now. I know. But yeah. I do. I sound a lot worse than I feel now. I feel a lot better. Um, and this is like the one and only bonus to getting sick that I actually enjoy is that when my voice gets all like honky and goofy like this, it actually kind of amuses me. So, but yeah, um, this is, as you might tell from the thumbnail, I called it Grandma's House. Reason being is that it is an actual recreation of my for real Gma's house. So it is like sort of it's an interesting house. It was sort of like one of those post World War II houses. Like, obviously, that's not, well, of course, she lived in it post World War II, but um, it was built. The house itself was built. You can tell post World War II because there is a what it's called, or like what they call a bomb shelter in it. Like so, basically, there is an actual nuclear fallout shelter, like building, like built into the basement of it. But of course my grandmother just used it for extra storage and stuff, but you'll see that. And I did it as best as I could in The Sims, and I think it turned out really well. It turned out a lot like my grandmother's house. um so not at the same time. So like that's just how sort of how recreating actual things in The Sims is. Like I really nailed it to some degree, and then in a lot of ways it's not like my grandma's house, but the overall look and feel of it, I feel like I really nailed it. But yeah, so the thing about it is half built into a hill, so that is why I have like a sort of like part of it that's built down into the basement, because technically this little part down here that I'm building would have gone straight out into the street, like it was a driveway, it was a parking lot. Because built into my grandmother's house, where you see these awnings and these big tall windows at the bottom, she actually had her a beauty shop built into her house. So my grandmother was a beautician, and so she had a shop like just built right into the house on the bottom floor. And so people would enter through that driveway and into those doors down there. Those were like the business doors. And then the rest of the house is obviously the residence. So you'll see me try my best to recreate a beauty shop in The Sims. But I don't know, because of my voice and everything and how I sound, how long my voiceover is actually going to be for this video. I'm going to try and hang tight and keep narrating, but I just can't make any promises at this point. So I might at some point turn into music if I get to where I'm going to start coughing and stuff. But yeah. So I hope everybody had a lovely holiday. I had a pretty nice Christmas apart from being sick. I don't know if you celebrate Christmas or what you do for the holidays, but leave me a comment and let me know. Did you have a happy holiday? Did you get any fun, awesome presents that you're really excited about? Um, I didn't get anything like I'm super excited about, but I was really happy that my mom liked her gift because I spent a long time trying to pick it out. My mom is a jewelry person, and I'm not a jewelry person, and so it's really difficult for me to like get something that I know for sure she's gonna like, but I got her like a charm bracelet, and she's not really like a charm bracelet type of person normally, but this was just kind of like one that was a little bit less, because charm bracelets by definition are kind of like chunky because you have like the little chunky beads and stuff on them typically. But this one was a little bit more demure, and I liked it, and she really liked it, so I was pretty happy um, that I was able to get mom something that she really enjoyed. So, sorry about that. Um, this, what I'm building here along like the side, and you'll see a lot of different areas with flowers. Um, my grandmother was like such a green thumb. Oh, and this carpet texture, like, so she had like a sort of like an indoor outdoor like sort of Berber carpet on her porch, her front and back porch. So I did my best to find like a carpet texture that sort of worked like or looked like the carpet texture that she actually had on the outside of the house. So I really tried my best to like recreate it as faithfully as possible. It's just and I did recreate it quite faithfully. It's just that certain object scale is just you can't alter things to make them smaller or larger in reality. So, just certain items are going to take up a certain amount of space that they might not take up in reality because in reality you can have like varying sizes of different things. So that, all the decisions that I made that made it not um, like my actual grandma's house were things that just had to like be sacrificed for scale. But she was very, very much a green thumb. And I say, I kind of go like, I think I'm kind of going back and forth in and out of saying she is or was because this house, my grandma passed away actually when I was pretty young. And she was in really good health otherwise, but she was a smoker. Don't smoke, kids. It's bad for you. I know I sound like I smoke a pack a day right now, but I don't, and you shouldn't. Uh, it's bad. And so, yeah, I mean, despite being in actually really good shape, she died pretty young because she was a lifelong heavy smoker. Um, so that's definitely something to keep in mind if you ever think about smoking. Luckily, I think smoking is kind of like getting to be like a thing of the past. I don't, maybe that's just me. I don't like think people like tend to pick it up as a new habit the same way that they used to. It's just like not as cool anymore, I hope. Maybe that's just me. But I've actually, been a smoker and quit smoking in my life too, just because I don't know. I mean, a lot of people try it, but yeah, it's not good. Don't do it. Don't. It's not worth it. It's terrible for you. And yeah, so she did get lung cancer and died at a pretty young age, and which was really tough for my mom because she was really, really super close with my grandmother. Um, and it also means that like I don't have as many memories of my grandmother as I could. Um, like at a certain point in your life, you start knowing your parents and grandparents as people rather than just like your construct of what a grandma is in your head or what a mom is in your head. Like when you start to realize like your parents had lives before you were ever born, you kind of get to that point in life when you start to learn about them as people and not just what they represent to you. So I never really got to get to that point with my grandmother to where I got to really know her as a person rather than just know her as my grandma. Not that I didn't love knowing her as my grandma, she was an awesome grandma, but it would have been nice if she'd have been around long enough for me to sort of get to know her more as a person. What I've had to do is, get to know her through the memories of like my mom and my aunt. And I mean, I want to say that I was maybe like 12ish when she passed, so I was starting to get there. But it just, you know, it was just unfortunate. But this beauty shop, it's really close to what she actually had. Like the colors are pretty close, and the layout is really close. She had now, it's not really that easy to recreate like beauty shop chairs and equipment in The Sims. We just don't have the stuff yet. So I just sort of had to do my best. She had like a shelving area that separated sort of the entrance and then the area where she actually did the haircuts and I'm building like the little shampoo sink right now. Uh, using like some of the items like the chair from Get to Work and um, counters and sinks and things. I use bar stools from the base game to represent the chairs where she would cut hair. The reason being, like, you can see at the bottom, like that's what those chairs looked like, and there was like a little lever on the bottom that she would like use with like pump her foot up and down to like raise people like taller and shorter. You've gotten a haircut, you know what I'm talking about. And but those chairs like provided many hours of nighttime fun where I would sneak into the beauty shop after it was closed and get in those chairs and spin and spin and spin and spin. Like myself and my cousins were all guilty of this, and eventually, like, we got to the point where we were doing it so often, we were starting to actually break the chairs. And those chairs are really expensive. Of course, when you're a kid, you're just selfish. And when we were told, like, stop playing in those chairs, they're not for playing, it was like, oh, okay, so my life is just ruined then? Okay, fine. Like, you're a jerk when you're a kid, you're selfish. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, all I could think about it was like how upset I was that I had to stop spinning in the chairs and not like, oh no, I almost broke my grandmother's livelihood. How terrible would that have been? Um, that's that's so awful. Ugh. But yeah, that was my reaction and my cousins and I reaction whenever we were told to stop playing in the chairs. It's just like, but I have this endless source of amazing fun and you're just gonna take it away from me? Fine. Fine. But anyway, yeah. As I think I started to say earlier, um, we're working on the kitchen right now. I just switched gears really quickly, but um, I did not. There was really not a way for me to recreate the kitchen properly in terms of color, because her counters and cabinets were in this sort of lemon yellow color, um, which just doesn't exist in the game. So I kind of switched it over to a beige. But the house, as I'm doing it here, you can see I tried for yellow a little bit, but it just didn't work. Um, this is based on my memory of the house over a lot of different years, and there were actually three bedrooms, but because of the way that stairs take up space in The Sims versus how they take up space in reality, I wasn't able to fit in that third bedroom, which was the bedroom where I would stay whenever I would, spend the night with my grandmother. Um, but what I did include was my grandmother's bedroom and then my uncle's bedroom. So um, my grandmother had five kids in total, and my mom was the oldest, and then she had like all the way up to my uncle Josh, who was only a few years older than my older sister. So like that kind of shows like over like how many years my grandmother had kids with my Well, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Just not a good person. My grandfather was just not a good person. He was an alcoholic and he was abusive. He was physically abusive to my grandmother, and he was verbally abusive to my mother and her siblings. Um, just don't smoke and don't drink to excess. There's another lesson. Um, yeah, he was a habitual drinker, and not everybody can go to their happy place whenever they've had a lot to drink. I took a class on chemical dependency at one point, and um, the instructor, I still remember, she told me like the way that alcohol moves through your brain. It's like it starts in the front of your brain, and that's when everything is like warm and fuzzy and happy, but it like slowly works its way like back through your brain, kind of like flipping switches to the point where you get to sort of like your caveman brain. And then at that point, you either just become like aggressive and angry, or like cry, like you just like start to cry and stuff. Most people stop long before they get to this point. So if you've ever had, a night of drinking and thought, I never got to that place, yeah, that's probably because you felt okay and you stopped long before you ever got to like the abusive, horrible person part of the brain. But yeah, that's where my grandfather liked to drink too. So my mom actually doesn't touch alcohol, never has, because of how like negatively it impacted her as a kid. When her dad would come home, and being the oldest, of course, like like my uncles that are a little bit younger than my mom don't have like the same memories as like my so it's like my mom and then my oldest uncle. I think it went like girl boy girl boy boy boy. Is that too many? I lost count now, but anyway, my uncle Jeff, he was the oldest male, and at one point he did wind up having to physically stand up to my grandfather. Actually, it's kind of a cool story. It's 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 a story that sounds starts off awful but has a kind of cool ending. Um, my grandfather came home after a night of binge drinking, and my grandmother at the time happened to be in bed with pneumonia. She was really sick. And so when he came home, like cursing and my mom and my uncle and everything, they knew what they were in for. They knew he was going to be in a rage. Um, and he went into the house, and my mom says that he just like grabbed my grandmother and like sick out of bed and dragged her out into the snow, like getting ready to be violent toward her. And my uncle, who was a young boy at the time, went into the house and got a shotgun and chased him off. Said, you get the hell away from my mom." Like I picture my uncle being like a little young Carl from The Walking Dead, like chasing my my pap off with with the shotgun. Um, but that's what happened. It's a true story. Like he totally was like, I'm not gonna let you do this to her. Like now at this point, I can just, I have a weird perspective on it because everything to me is just like secondhand stories. By the time that I was born, my mom had nothing to do with my grandfather, so I didn't really know him very well growing up. Like he was around, he would maybe like call every now and then, but he didn't know me. We would be having a conversation, and he would be like, "So what grade are you in now?" Like he just didn't know me. We had no personal relationship. So, my mom just had had enough, and being the oldest, I just never was around him, even though my uncles and my other aunts, or his other daughter, had a little bit more of a relationship with him. I think my mom just kind of said, nope, no more. I'm just not letting you. Because I don't know that he ever got physically violent with my mom. He definitely was mentally not, he was like verbally abusive toward her. So, yeah, he was more or less cut out and didn't have any real effect on my life. But yeah, I don't know why I launched into that like super uplifting story. But ultimately, my grandmother did divorce him, and so like that's another reason why he wasn't part of like her life. She moved on, she remarried, she was happy, in life like long before she ever passed away. She'd kicked him to the curb like a long time before she ever, passed away. So ultimately, even though it was bad for a while, it turned out okay in the end. So it's okay. It's okay. Everybody, warm hugs. It's okay. Oh boy. Yeah, but those days, those were long over by the time I came into the picture. So, like I said, what I know of the whole thing was secondhand for me. So, that's why it's kind of a little bit easier for me to talk about because I didn't really live through it directly. This little room that I'm building, this is going to look kind of weird, but there was, we don't have like a laundry situation in The Sims 4. So I built what would be the laundry room with like the washer and dryer and stuff. You just sort of the best that I could, but there was this like little shower down in this sort of laundry room. But the items that would have been there would have been like the washer and dryer and an ironing board. So my grandma had an iron. That's where she kept her ironing board. Was where in that corner where I just put a closet. Um, and then I also added in to this room. I think it's later on in the build, but I added in a desktop, like a computer area, because what this is my memory of the house over many many different years. And there are different floor textures and everything because the house had been, remodeled several times too. So, there are different versions of the house. And then after my grandmother passed away, my uncle, who was the youngest of the kids, he like there are two bedrooms in this house that made it into the final build. Although there were technically three bedrooms, I left out a guest bedroom, like a small guest bedroom, just because of scaling issues. Um, but I did leave in how I remember my old or youngest uncle's room because during my lifetime, he did actually live with my grandmother, like while he was going. I mean, I can't really say I have memories of my uncle being high school aged, really, but he definitely did live there, like, you know, that I have memories of during my lifetime. It's hard to like think about all the who and when and what years and everything, but after my grandma passed away, he like the house went to him, and so after a while he did do some renovations and stuff. Um, but the beauty shop is still in that house. The house now belongs to um, like more or less a friend of the family. We'll put it that way because it was like my great uncle's wife, I think, is her relationship to me. Um, but she actually she is a beautician as well, so she keeps the beauty shop. So that part of the house still exists and still functions. I do remember like there were things regarding like because beauty shops, they have like an inspector, like a health inspector, like any like restaurant or whatever. Now my grandmother was a very 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 clean and neat person, but there are just certain regulations that technically having a beauty shop in your house just isn't, they're just not conducive. Like I remember like it was supposed to be that the sort of like bomb shelter area and the like downstairs laundry room, like they weren't technically supposed to be like physically open to like they should have been walled off, but that just didn't happen. I don't know. She just sort of like always got by with the inspector. They never really gave her crap over it or anything just because, it was a neat situation. I think, if they were to find anything that would have been unhealthy or anything, they would have, come down on it. But, like I said, she was like a super neat person. It just so happened that there were a couple of doors that technically shouldn't be there, but, that she always kind of like got away with it, I guess, is a way of sort of saying that. Um, I did after I started recording, or after I stopped recording, I filled up those shelves with a little bit more knickknacks. I just didn't want to have to include in the recording just, minutes and minutes of me scrolling through menus and things like that. Yeah. So I'm just sort of like working on the beauty shop a little bit again. Those two chairs that you see off to the side, um, those would have been like the hair dryers, but we don't have anything that, you know what I'm talking about, like the bubble thing that goes over your hair that dries your hair. Like, oh, there would always be like an older lady sitting in one of those chairs, like, huh? What? But yeah, that's where I included the computer because we need a computer area in simming. But although I don't really remember there being a computer down there at any point. I know that there was a computer upstairs in an area that I had to cut that I couldn't actually put in the build. This room down here is the quote unquote bomb shelter, and it was just full of. I do remember there was a treadmill and a dartboard and my uncle's toys. And so there's a toy box there. And then there was that little sort of additional room that was like sort of like the fallout shelter. And it was just full of like, it was basically my grandmother's pantry. She just had tons and tons of canned goods and stuff in there. So that's how I recreated that with like stuff. Using some of the get to work shelving and things like that. But we're actually getting ready to come up on the screenshots. Um, I hope you've enjoyed like my weird rando stories from my life, from my grandmother's life actually. I don't know why I just really felt like building something that I had a frame of reference. I've never really tried to recreate something real in my life in The Sims before, and I'm actually like really happy with the way it turned out. It turned out really pretty close to what her actual house looked like. So, anyway, this is so you've seen a couple of the screenshots already. This is my uncle's bedroom that we're showing right now. And I did build this on the lot next to the Goth's house. But I think it's a 40 by 30, so it should fit on most lots in the game. And yeah. So anyway, I hope that you guys are having an awesome day. I'm so sorry that I was sick and missing for a while, but I hope you guys had an awesome holiday. Let me know how everything went. Let me know your thoughts and suggestions and anything that you might like to see. And take care. Have an awesome day, everybody. Bye.